Hello friends, this is Hedda. Welcome back to my channel. I know we're all getting excited about April setups, and my April plan with me video will be up as soon as I can manage, but for now I want to take you back to February in my reading journal and talk about the books that I read that month. If you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe button so that you can stay updated on my newest videos. The first step is to make my cover page for February, and for this cover page I used the Lovelock washi tape set and wooden stamp set from Notebook Therapy, which I had just gotten in the mail in late January. I was so excited to get some use out of these, and I absolutely love how my cover page turned out. I had also just barely gotten a big delivery from Leela Journals, I think a couple of months worth of Patreon rewards from last year, so I was super excited to use all of my new stationery and really hyped for all of the neutral tones. Another new piece of stationery I acquired in January was the junk journal from Notebook Therapy, and I used some paper from this notebook in my reading journal spreads throughout February and also March, because I really love it. For my cover page, I used one of the stamps in the Lovelock stamp set to stamp some frames onto one of the brown pages in the journal. It's almost like craft paper. It's kind of craft paper, but nicer, if that makes sense. And then I cut out the frames so that I could glue them into my notebook. I read 3 books in February, so I made 3 frames. If you watched any of my other monthly reading journal update videos, you probably know the drill by now, but for anyone who is new to reading journals, or at least new to the way I do my reading journal, because you can make your reading journal however you want, but what I do is I usually make a cover page for each month so that I can separate my book spreads into the months that I read them. So on this cover page I'm just having fun with stationery, basically making collages, putting together paper, washi tape, and stickers that I really like. And the only thing that absolutely has to be on my cover page, no matter what, is the name of the month and somewhere to write down which books I read that month. I usually do a decorative collage on one page, and the other page will contain the books that I read during the month, and then I make separate spreads for each book that I read, which I'll get to as soon as we're done with the cover page. All of the girl stickers you see on this spread I bought in Japan, and unfortunately I don't remember exactly what they're called, but I will be going back to Japan again this year, so I will see if I can find them again. I love how well the girl stickers worked with the stickers from Leela Journals, and also how it all makes so well with the Lovelock collection from Notebook Therapy. In case you didn't know already, I do have a discount code that all of my followers can use to get 10% off their order from Notebook Therapy, and it's mochibujo 10. I will write it down and include a link in the description box as well. As I'm recording this, the whole Lovelock collection is still in stock, so you should be able to snag them if you want to. That code and link, they're affiliate codes and affiliate links, which means that I earn a small commission for every purchase made using that code. But of course it doesn't cost you any extra money because you actually get a discount. As for Leela Journals, I don't have a discount code for her shop, unfortunately, but please take my warmest recommendations for RD's store because she's such a lovely person and her art is so soft and elegant. I will put a link to her shop in the description box as well, and you can check out the Lily of the Valley stationery she has, which is what I've mostly been using in the spread. This might sound weird, but my favorite part about keeping a reading journal is that I have the opportunity to make an additional cover page each month. It's like my bullet journal is a journal in which I feel like I have to challenge myself each month, like try new things, vary my mediums, my color palettes, all of those things. But my reading journal is kind of like my cozy space, where I just make collages on every page and stay within my comfort zone. I also get to use a lot more of my stationery since I do different themes on each page, basically. I feel like it lets me play a lot more with themes than I get to do in my bullet journal, because in my bullet journal I stick to just one theme each month. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I really love my bullet journal and how I create it every month, but I'm just trying to kind of explain the difference between the two and how they both serve me in a really important way. Starting a reading journal back in 2019 was a really great decision for me, and it makes me so happy to be able to slowly fill it just little by little every month. So if you need somewhere to use a bunch of stationery and you're into reading or consuming other media, I think that keeping a journal like this is a great way to both use stationery and like art supplies and also consume media in a mindful way, because at least for me, keeping my reading journal kind of forces me to think more about the books that I read and not just inhale them, you know? So yeah, that's just some thoughts on my journal as I finish up the cover page. The final details were some sparkles here and there per usual. This might be one of my favorite reading journal cover pages ever, I think. I'm really happy with it. The 4 spreads that I make in this video are filmed in 4 different locations. The first one was my kitchen table in Norway, but as you may know, in early February I went to Hawaii to spend some time with friends, so you just saw some clips from one of my morning walks. The first book spread I made in February was filmed at a cafe in Hilo called Vibe, where I had a lovely latte. I actually don't go to cafes very often here, mostly because they're all like a 45-minute drive away, but there are some lovely cafes in Hilo, and this is one of them. We had rain pretty much every day in February, so it was in need of some bright color, and these purple flower stickers that I got from my pen pal Sasha were exactly what I needed. The first book I read in February was a really chunky one. It's called The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This one has been all over the bookish accounts on social media, and I was recommended it by a few people as well, but I'll be completely honest, the main reason I chose to pick up this book is because of the beautiful cover art. It has such pretty, vibrant colors, and it made me instantly think I want to own this book. Sadly, I don't have anywhere to put such a big book, so I got the audiobook version instead, but I still love the cover art and I'd like to own the physical book one day. It's so pretty. The cover is illustrated by Ivan Belikov, and I've just been scrolling through their portfolio this week, just looking at the art because they're so pretty. Anyway, The Priory of the Orange Tree. This book has been immensely popular ever since it came out, it seems, and I completely understand why. It has strong female characters, even strong gay female characters. It has a big, expansive world, and it has dragons, like so many dragons. The dragons are really cool. I really like dragons. If I were given the opportunity to read this book for the first time again, I would not pick the audiobook, but rather the ebook or the physical copy. And I have 2 main reasons for that. The first one is that the first quarter or the first third of the book was really confusing for me. All of these characters in different parts of the world, in different countries, cities, kings and queens and dragons. It was a lot to wrap my head around. There was a lot of world building happening. The second reason is that the narrator annoyed me a little bit, like the way she would narrate the different characters' voices and stuff kind of ground my gears a little bit. And it made it a less enjoyable experience. I don't think that she's a bad narrator, it's just that some of the voices, like one of the characters, Jennart, whenever he was talking, she was like talking through her teeth, like, I can't even do it, talking through her teeth, like she was very angry. And like, I get that Jennart is like, you know, kind of an old bitter man, and it's kind of part of it, his personality trait, but I just found it really annoying to listen to, and I am very sensitive when it comes to sounds, so that's probably part of it too. And maybe other people don't really mind. I did like all of like the different accents she would do. The funniest one was one like distant king, just sounded like a happy-go-lucky guy from like southern US, because he had like a thick southern accent and he just sounded so American, and it was really funny. But I also couldn't really take his character seriously because he was talking like that, and he was like always sounded really happy and stuff. But yeah, other than those things, you know, it was fine. But it was not my favorite audiobook, and I would have, if I could go back, I would have chosen the regular book, like the ebook, for example. When I started reading this book, I was under the impression that it was a standalone book, like just one book, not a series. But it turns out this one is becoming a series, and I'm not really sure why. I felt like it ended really well, like it could have ended with that first book. It didn't have to become a series, but I guess maybe it became so popular that she wanted to write more stories. I don't know. The next book in the series is a prequel, I think. It's called A Day of Fallen Night, and I think it came out like the very last day of February. So yeah, I guess in a sense I read this book just in time to be able to read the next one right after, but I probably won't. I will need a little break before I pick up the prequel. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I will even leave it at just this book, but I don't know. We will see. I do tend to finish series that I have started, so yeah. Anyway, I really like how the spread turned out with all of the purples. The flowers look beautiful. I have no idea where they're from. They were part of like a pet tape, I think. My pen pal Sasha just gifted me like a few cutouts from that pet tape, and she couldn't remember where it was from, so I'm kind of at a loss. But if anyone knows, please let me know, because they are beautiful, and I think I would really love to get some more of it if I figure out where it's from. So yeah, that was it for the Priory of the Orange Tree. Let me know if you have read it and what you thought about it. Here's a little pig intermission before I move on to the next spread. These are wild pigs that are just running around in the backyard. They're really cute, but apparently they are invasive and they're not very nice. They can be a little aggressive. Now let's move on to the second book that I read in February. This was filmed at Sweet Cane Cafe, also in Hilo. They have such good food here. I would definitely recommend it. For this spread, I wanted to do a kind of a cherry blossom theme because I just gotten these cherry blossom washi tapes and stamps from Notebook Therapy. It's their Sakura Breeze collection. So I just, went in straight away with some paper from the junk journal as well. And yeah, just having fun. This spread turned out quite different actually than my other reading journal spreads, because I wanted to make it more like I would a weekly spread maybe, or like a bullet journal spread. So it has a lot more sections than my normal reading journal spreads have, because usually I will just like decorate around the edges and then write a bunch on the page. But for this spread, I kind of tried something a little bit different, and I quite like how it turned out. So let me know what you think as well. The second book that I read in February was The Atlas Paradox. You might remember that in January I read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is the sequel to that. And when I was talking about The Atlas 6 in my January reading journal update, I'm pretty sure I said that the series only had 2 books, but I was wrong. There's another book coming in 2024 or something, and that kind of upset me because I hate waiting for book series to finish, and if too much time passes in between reads, I kind of forget a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm a little bit sad that I'll have to wait so long for the third book, but oh well, it is what it is. I definitely have the same gripes with this book as I did with the first. Like, there is not much happening. There's a lot of talking, a lot of like overcomplicating things, and so much philosophizing. Is that a word? Philosophizing? Like just so much dialogue about big topics that doesn't seem to like end up anywhere. They're just kind of academic conversations between academics, and as much as I loved being a student, it kind of irked me the way that these like magical academic dialogues were happening so much in the book, and they just didn't go anywhere. And maybe Olivia Blake is taking a jab at academia. I don't know. It got a little bit boring at times, which I'm a little bit sad to say. Like, I really want to know what is happening, but I feel like some of the characters are getting a lot of growth in ways that don't really make sense to me. I feel like the book just focused so much on very small, unimportant things and then left out a lot of action that was happening. And that's kind of my main criticism of this book. This sounds really negative, and I usually don't like to be overly negative when I talk about the books that I read in these videos, because I am not like a book critic. I don't know anything about writing, and all I can really talk about is, you know, what I enjoy when reading books. So yeah, this is just kind of a book that I didn't enjoy as much. It took me a long time to get through because not much was happening, you know? And maybe that's a me problem, that my attention span isn't long enough or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm probably going to read the third book when it comes out, but it's not going to be on the top of my priority list. So maybe it's a good thing that it's not coming out until 2024. Yeah, here you can see me mess up stamps a lot. It was really hard to stamp well in my journal this time, and I think because I'm like in the beginning of my journal, so you know, when you use stamps you should have like a flat surface underneath, but when stamping on like the side of the notebook, that kind of has this gap underneath because it's right at the beginning of the notebook, then it's harder to stamp well. So that annoyed me a little bit. But I did my best to kind of just fill in the gaps or stamp double if I had to. And in the end, I actually think that the spread turned out really cute. And I love the washi tape kind of at the top of the spread, which is just this like street, like Japanese street with some houses and Mount Fuji in the background and some vending machines and cherry blossom trees. And it was just really cute. I really like it. I definitely filled the spread to the brim. There wasn't that much room to write when I was done decorating everything, but in a way it might have been for the best because I didn't have that much to say about this book. I know I make it sound like I hated it, and I didn't hate it. I feel like I care about the characters and I really want to know what is happening. It's just that it didn't captivate me in the way that I had hoped it would, you know? Luckily, I did read a book after this one that really spoke to me, so I wouldn't say that this was a bad reading month. It just took me forever to get through the Priory of the Orange Tree, and then I was reading the Atlas Paradox kind of at the same time, because I read the Atlas Paradox as an ebook on my Kindle, and then I read the Priory of the Orange Tree as an audiobook, so I was kind of reading those at the same time, just, you know, in different forms. And so I felt like both of the books that I was reading were kind of dragging on a little bit. The Priory of the Orange Tree is really long. It's like 900 pages or something, so it did take a while. And it's not that it wasn't good, because it just was very long. And then the Atlas Paradox just felt really long, even though it isn't. It's less than 400 pages. But yeah, it just felt quite long. You might notice that the table changed here, and that's because I am now on the dining table at my friend's house, because I suddenly had to leave the cafe, and so this was filmed on a different day. Maybe you wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't told you, but I thought I'd tell you anyway. So I'm just finishing up writing all of my thoughts on this book, and it wasn't all bad. It really wasn't. I definitely like a good corruption arc, you know, where the main character, who's kind of like this really good person, a nice person, something happens and they kind of go rogue, and this is definitely happening in this book, and it's something that I really enjoy. That's why I like R.F. Kuang's books so good, you know, because of this type of character development, which I really like, and I don't see it that often. I don't know if authors are hesitant to write that type of characters, but I really enjoy it because it really shows like all the different shades of gray that people can be, you know, it's not black and white. And that brings us to the final book that I read during February. I wanted to use my new black and white kind of gray tone butterfly stickers that I put up in my shop in February, and also some more junk journal pages and some washi tape from Takti that I haven't had a chance to use very much yet. So this spread will be kind of black and white. The third and final book that I read in February is actually a novella. If you remember, in January I read a novella and I was like kind of on the fence about it, and then I was recommended this one by one of you guys in the comments underneath that video, so I chose to pick it up. This is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, and you guys, now I haven't read that many novellas in my life, but this is one of the better ones. I really enjoyed this one. Turns out that there is another book written by Becky Chambers that is kind of a sequel to this one, and I will definitely be reading that one too because this was really enjoyable. It wasn't very long. I mean, it is a novella, so it was quite easy to get through. Apparently it's this new genre called solar punk, which I'd never heard about before, but basically it's set on a moon somewhere in the universe where AI and robots have like coexisted with humans, but now they don't live together anymore, and humans have populated like half of the planet, and then the rest, or the moon, sorry, and then the rest of the moon is kind of reserved for just wilderness. I felt like the novella touched upon so many important topics like therapy and like your purpose in life, and just like so many human emotions that I'm sure everyone experiences throughout their life. And so I really enjoyed it, and it was a really cute story. It's about sibling Dex, who is also a non-binary character, which I don't see very often in books. So they're a monk and they're traveling around doing tea service, which is basically therapy for villagers around the moon, and it's just really sweet. And then they feel the need to, go out into the wild, and they meet a robot called Splendid Speckled Mosscap, and just the conversations between human and robot were really interesting. I just feel like the novella was just so wholesome. Like I was left with this warm fuzzy feeling after reading it. Like it made me feel really good, and I love that in a book because a lot of the time there's a lot of trauma and disaster and sad things happening in books because apparently humans love tragedy, But this one was very calm and kind and warm, and it was really sweet. I would really recommend it. I'm excited to read the next one. Maybe next month, we'll see. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. Best novella I ever read. I might have to add more novellas to my reading plan this year because turns out there are good novellas out there. And this was one of them. Really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for the recommendation. Let me pass the recommendation on to anyone else who might be interested in reading this. It was really enjoyable. That was it for the books that I read during February. Here's a clip of a huge banyan tree that I saw the other day. And now we're gonna do a little flip through of all of the spreads that I made during February, just so that you can get a closer look on the spreads that I made in this video. If you're not part of my Patreon yet, I just wanted to let you know that some of my patrons have started a book club in our Patreon Discord server. So it's only open for members of the Patreon, and in April, I think they're reading Howl's Moving Castle. I might join if I get time because I have wanted to read that book for a while. So yeah, if you want to come hang out, now's a good time to join the Patreon. But of course, no pressure. I really appreciate you watching this video and clicking that like button because it really helps my video reach more of my subscribers and also new people that may not have seen any of my videos before. I really appreciate you all being here. I appreciate talking to you guys, all of your book recommendations in the comments. If you have read any of the books that I talked about in this video, please leave a comment and let me know what you thought about them. If you agree with the things that I thought about them, or if you have a different opinion, that's fine too. If you watch this video all the way to the end, put a black heart emoji in your comment to let me know, and it matches the last spread that I made in the video as well. I think that's all for now. Stay tuned for my April plan with me video coming to my channel soon. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!